Let's talk a little for people that don't know about the pre-code, what the code is. What was the pre-code era?
Well, in an effort to avoid the government coming in and legislating and regulating the content of motion pictures, the Motion Picture Association of America, the MPAA, drafted their own rules. The head of it was William Hayes, and Hayes drafted what became known as the Hayes Code in 1930.
Right.
And they really didn't get their teeth sunk into it and really didn't get up and running in the industry until about 34.
But this was to tell people what could and couldn't be done.
This was an attempt to control content in film. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of people are interested, as you know, and you know better than anybody, in pre-code films, because right up until when that code was enforced in 34, pre-1934, filmmakers had a lot of a license, and there was a lot of liberal content in filmmaking, which led to some very, very interesting films.
Right. Now, Babyface is kind of the definitive pre-code film. Would you say that?
Well, I think that, you know, in seeing many of these films recently for this programming you're doing, you know, Stanwyck herself is a pre-code actress. You know?
Right. And why do you say that?
Well, there are men and there are women that just have that force.
Right.
They have that edge to them.
Right.
Where they can, I mean, other people could play those roles, but none as well as them, where there's a kind of an unapologetic, self-promoting edge to them, and not just what they do. The character does what they do. They seduce men and exploit them for wealth and so forth during very tough times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot
as
of
she does in this movie.
As she does in Babyface.
Yeah.
But it's the way they do it. I mean, no one was like Stanwyck in terms of. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and you know better than I do, I think she was 26 years old when she shot this film. She was a very young woman.
But it's still a tough cookie.
Yeah, beautiful.
At that point.
Very
she
beautiful.
fit that era so well. That you know, the Depression era,
hard scrabble.
Yeah, you know, tough life in Brooklyn, growing up. You know, wise to the ways of the world, or she would have been defeated. And she's so typical of that.
But in the film, if I'm not mistaken, you know, some of these films, there's a tinge of the economic reality of the 30s and of the Depression. Some of these films you see, it's tough times and it's soup lines and things like this, so people are doing what they have to do. Other films go the opposite way and just kind of whitewash that and ignore that.
Right.
And in this film, you definitely see that there's an economic determination. She's in this town, and the father owns the saloon. I don't want to give away the story. And then she embarks on this career, so to speak, of hers to try to exploit what she has.
She has one way to get out.
Right, she has
and that's with her body and her brain.
She has one way to get out.
Yeah, and she makes it.
I mean, a lot of these pre-code films, they got a kind of a pulpy quality to them. There's kind of there's a starkness to it, and you see a lot of skin. I mean, we're going to talk about other films in which it's kind of amazing how much women are. You're seeing like the shape of their bodies through their clothes and things that I didn't think were allowed back then, and eventually weren't. But this film is a good film. It's a good movie.
Well, let's see the film. Here it is from Warner Brothers in 1933, directed by Alfred E. Green, Babyface.